Hey, what's going on everyone? It's Griffin here, and as always, I hope you're having a great day. Now, in today's video, we're going to be doing something completely new to the channel, and that is a video inspired by Gary V's recent video series called Overrated and Underrated, where essentially he has someone behind the camera ringing off different topics, and he says whether or not, based on his opinion, he thinks it's overrated or underrated with a short little explanation. So I thought that would be really fun to adapt to my channel and my style of content. So on Instagram, I did a poll, or essentially not a poll, but one of those little things where people can submit answers, and I asked the audience whether or not this would be A, of interest to them, and B, to submit different stocks and financial topics for today's video. And honestly, the response and amount of submissions I got on that post far exceeded what I had initially even anticipated. You all seem to really be excited for today's video. So obviously we're not going to go over 200 different stocks and topics. We boiled that down to a shorter list, and Sophie, my girlfriend, is going to be ringing them off so that I can quickly share whether or not I think it's overrated or underrated with a short little explanation as to why. And I do just want to quickly mention that in no way is this video going to go in depth about any one of these individual topics. It's sort of going to be more of a lighthearted style video with my initial thoughts and take on each one of these stocks. So I really hope you enjoy it. If you do, make sure to smash the like button. It really helps the channel out. And with that said, let's get right into the first one.
Air Canada.
Air Canada has to be properly rated for now. I think that over the long term, it's going to be a stock that'll take several years to appreciate back up to pre-crash levels back of March. It is gaining a little bit more traction right now from the like $17 range that it was trading at for the better part of last year. But yeah, for now, I would say properly rated. I'm personally not an investor, and I don't hold any shares, and I don't plan on holding shares in Air Canada as of right now.
Second one, FLT.
FLT, okay, so this is drone delivery, ticker symbol FLT. I think in the bigger picture, this stock is underrated. Yes, it has gained a lot more traction over the past 6 months or so, but at the same time, I think that in the next decade or whatnot, drone delivery for packages and other uses as well is going to be really significant and prominent in our society. So I think, yeah, underrated for now.
Good food.
Good food. Okay, this is ticker symbol FOOD.TO on the Toronto Stock Exchange. I think this type of company in general is probably overrated right now. This was very much a stock that a lot of people thought was a Corona stock, and that, you know, with people staying at home and therefore not wanting to go outside, getting their groceries and meal preps delivered straight to their door was something that was of value to them. I definitely do see the value. I just think that in the bigger picture, for the premium that people are paying for it, I think it's somewhat overvalued, and I think there's so much competition among different players in this industry that it's really hard to differentiate yourself. So I'm going to go with overrated for now.
Next one is NEO.
NEO, okay, interesting. I think NEO in the big picture is underrated just because I'm very bullish on EVs long term. Even though EVs saw a huge rally in 2020, end of 2020, I think that, yeah, like in the big picture, electric vehicles are very much going to take over combustion engine vehicles. So in terms of a shorter time frame, I think NEO has been overrated with valuation shooting up dramatically, but in the bigger picture, underrated, and that's why I've spoken about NEO previously. And I think that as a longer term hold, if you're willing to ride through short term fluctuations, this is a stock that offers lots of upside potential for your portfolio. So I would say underrated for now.
Next stock is Hive.
I think blockchain stocks in general are probably on the properly rated right now to slightly underrated, just because over the past couple of months there's been an amazing amount of articles coming out and hype around the whole blockchain space and crypto space in general. So for that reason, I would tend to say it's probably a bit overhyped, but at the same time, in the bigger picture and larger scale of blockchain technology as a whole, I think we're still very much at the forefront of what this technology has to offer in over the coming decades. So I'm going to go with properly rated as a result of that and slightly underrated.
College.
College. Okay. This is gonna ruffle some feathers. I think that it's overrated, like completely overrated, especially in this day and age, and depending on the major that you're doing. Like if you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, engineer, whatnot, then obviously you need to go to university or college. But I think that for all these other majors, and especially with where the world's going in terms of work and AI and all this, I think that it's overrated, in that you're going to be spending thousands, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars on education, where you can now pretty much learn all the skills necessary to be an entrepreneur on your own, or have other skills just from the internet and other sources. So I'm going to go with overrated on college.
And how about Disney?
Disney stock is underrated in my opinion. Yes, it's trading pretty much at all-time highs, but I think this is a company that has and owns some of the largest IPs in the world, including Star Wars. They own Marvel now, with the introduction of their Disney Plus streaming service. I think that this is an underrated company in the bigger picture.
One of my favorite companies, Lululemon.
Okay, so just for that reason, I'm going to go with massively overrated. I don't really use their product or know their product that well. I know it's really expensive though. So for that reason, like $120 pair of like spandex leggings, and I'm probably going to get some dislikes for that, but I'm going to go with overrated on the product. The stock itself, honestly, I'm not too familiar with. So the stock, I'm going to go with properly rated, but the actual product overrated in my opinion. By the way, at this point in the video, I do want to quickly mention that this video was significantly harder to film than I had initially anticipated, in that saying a stock is overrated or underrated is very subjective, in that we have the shorter term price point for the stock, and then we have the longer term growth prospects, business, different sales verticals or whatnot. So it's very difficult to accurately pinpoint whether or not I think it's overrated or underrated, because there's both qualitative and quantitative elements to take in mind. So just keep in mind here that this video is very much just a lighthearted video, and it's in no way a in-depth stock analysis video and companies that I would necessarily recommend investing in at the current price point. I just wanted to mention that quickly.
$6 lattes.
Oh my God. $6 lattes, highly overrated, honestly. And Sophie behind the camera here is like,
personally attacked.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just kidding.
Literally, it's like a running joke. Every time we go to Starbucks, which for me is never, but when I'm in the car with Sophie and we get to the cash and they're like, that'll be $7.23 for a coffee this big, I almost like fall over, honestly. It's one of the biggest rackets ever, in my opinion. Highway robbery, highly overrated, and yeah, you'll never see me buying that out of my own will.
And for the next stock, Apple.
Apple is, I'm going to go with slightly overrated, to be honest. I think their products are great. I have an iPhone, always have. I also have pretty much all their other products. I have an iPad, I have an iMac and stuff. I really like their products, but I think that since Steve Jobs left, I kind of find that the innovation every time, like every year when they're coming out with new stuff, is not necessarily to par with the type of innovation that was coming every year prior to that. However, it's still a beast company. Their financials are amazing. They're one of the best companies pretty much of all time, and they're a solid pick for any portfolio, basically. Even if you own, let's say, a NASDAQ 100 ETF, you're highly exposed to Apple at over 12%. So I'm going to go with overrated, but it's still an awesome stock to hold.
Airbnb.
Airbnb is underrated, honestly. This is a company that they went IPO recently. There was a lot of hype around it. However, even though the stock has since surged, like from an actual company valuation standpoint, I think it's somewhat overrated and overvalued. However, the impact that this company has on international travel and staying places, I think it's underrated in the bigger picture, because they don't actually own any of the property, right? They just get to have a transaction fee on every single one of the stays and the bookings. So I would say that this is properly / slightly underrated.
The next stock was MindMed.
MindMed. Okay, so this is one I'm probably going to get some heat on because I did make a couple videos recently on the channel where I'd said that I thought the space was overrated. Now, on the short term, I do think it was overrated, okay? However, I did mention in those videos that over the long term and all the different solutions that it will have for the medical industry for certain conditions like ADHD, post-traumatic stress disorder, etc. Yes, I think that the psychedelic space as a whole is going to be very beneficial for the medical space as alternative medicine. So I'm going to say over the long term, underrated. Short term, it has been somewhat overrated, but for that reason, I'm going to put it at properly rated as of right now.
PayPal.
PayPal is properly rated, I would say right now. It's a stock that I actually hold in my portfolio, so I am a shareholder, but I think that over the long term, it's going to continue being one of the largest and most dominant players in the fintech space. With e-commerce growing, there's only going to be more and more transactions online, and PayPal is very much one of the industry favorites that people use for processing payments that is online. So I'm going to say it's properly rated right now since it is trading quite high. However, over the long term, I think it's going to continue being a winner.
Aphria.
Aphria is a stock that I think right now is somewhat overrated, especially after their news for the merger with Tilray. I think that the stock right now is trading at kind of very expensive valuations. Last time I checked, it was at around $28 per share, I think. So I think it is somewhat overvalued and for this reason, a little bit overrated. However, this is a stock that I am a shareholder in. I've been holding the stock since around $3 per share 1 year back. And I'm still very bullish on the cannabis industry as a whole. This is something I know a lot of viewers are most likely aware of. I think the cannabis industry is still at the forefront of a long-term massive growth. So I'm going to say for Aphria, slightly overrated, and cannabis in general is slightly underrated.
VGRO.
VGRO is a total stock market index fund where it has thousands of different holdings spread across equities as well as some fixed income positions. So basically it's like a total stock market portfolio that you're buying and holding through one single holding. I'm going to say it's underrated, to be honest. For the passive investor who really just wants a hands-off approach to their investing, they can just buy one single holding at a relatively low management fee. I think it offers a lot of value, and I think that for the right type of investor, it can be a great investment. So I'm going to go with underrated.
Starting a YouTube channel.
Starting a YouTube channel is massively underrated. It is something that is fun to do, even though very frustrating sometimes. Filming videos can be difficult. I can attest to that, but it is massively underrated in the big picture. The leverage that and platform that YouTube gives you pretty much organically, if you want it to be, even though this will take more time, is invaluable. For example, I've basically never paid for any ads whatsoever over the past year, and the audience has grown quite a bit. So I would say YouTube is massively underrated, even though there are a lot of creators right now. Everyone has their own expertise and opinions and videos that they can make. So I would say underrated.
Tesla.
Tesla is a stock that has been highly overrated in the media. However, I would still say that in the bigger picture and the long-term investment perspective of what Tesla represents, I would say is underrated. This is a company that not only has revolutionized the way that electric vehicles look and what the range is and all that, but they also have multiple different sales verticals and product lines. This isn't just an actual car company. They also are venturing on into solar shingles as well as at-home battery packs and a bunch of other things. And especially with Elon Musk being the CEO, I think that this company in the bigger picture really is underrated for what they're bringing in terms of the value to our society. GME, oh my God. This is not a stock that I have invested in whatsoever. I honestly think, I've been watching the whole thing from the sidelines, obviously, because I work and love investing. I work in the space, but I think it's massively overrated. I mean, the company itself, the underlying company is a retail video game store. And with the PlayStation 5 and all the new consoles coming out, everyone's shifting pretty much to digital. I just think it's kind of like the Blockbuster of video games. I don't see this stock doing well over time. It's very much just holding its value right now as a result of Wall Street bets and other retail investors kind of just investing in it to make short-term gain. So I'm going to say it is massively overvalued.
And what about Riocan?
Riocan is a great Canadian dividend stock. I'm going to say it's slightly underrated. It's not a stock that all too many people speak about. I have been covering the stock quite a bit on my channel over the past year. On a quarterly basis, I usually speak about them. I think that, even though they did slash down their dividend payment recently by a little bit, I still think it's an underrated stock. They still have a very nice yield, and most of their tenants are actually essential businesses. So even during a period of time when we do have massive closes, well, they have tenants like Loblaws as well as Jean Coutu and a bunch of other businesses that remain open. And then they're also venturing a lot into residential properties. So I'm going to go with underrated for Riocan.
And the last one for today is sports betting.
Sports betting is another industry that I think is underrated for now, even though most of the companies have seen lots of appreciation over the past couple of months. I think that this is an industry that's still very much at the forefront of what it will become longer term. With that said, I do think that if you're going to be investing in a sports betting ETF or some individual sports betting companies like DraftKings or whatnot, this is going to have to be a longer term hold, and do expect some shorter term volatility. But I would say it's, as a result of the stock appreciating so much, or this industry at least, I'm going to say it's properly rated and slightly underrated. That's my take on sports betting. So I really hope you enjoyed today's video. It was honestly, like I said earlier, a lot harder than I was anticipating, but a lot of fun to do as well. So if you enjoyed this type of video, make sure to smash the like button. It really helps the channel out. Also subscribe and hit the bell button to be notified of new and upcoming investing content. And just before signing off here, I do want to reiterate the fact that this video wasn't necessarily advice on stocks to invest in or whatnot. It was sort of just my quick take on some stocks as well as industries as a whole, in terms of whether or not they're overrated or underrated. And it was kind of difficult to do because this doesn't necessarily relate to the actual price right now or the valuation of the company. Even though I did take this in mind, it was also more just the larger picture for each one of these stocks. So again, I hope you enjoyed it. And on that note, I'll see you in the next video.